First of all, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Big subject, interesting time of year to be talking about retail, obviously, right in the thick of it. But I just wanted to kind of do a few introductions. For those that don't know me, my name's Stephen Knight. I'm the founder and CEO of Pimento. Pimento is an independent agency with 175 agencies and consultancies that offer marketing services in 97 different marketing disciplines, both here and also internationally. As you've just seen, we're going to be recording today's session, so please turn on your cameras and smile and wave throughout. Remember to use the chat box to ask questions of our panel. As always, we want to make today's session as interactive as possible. Today is all about retail. As you know, it's timely fashion as we go into the golden quarter. And over the past year, obviously, the UK retail market has seen a number of challenges. Shaped by economic factors, changing consumer behaviours and tech advancements, it's all had its impact. Interestingly enough, retail sales grew by just 0.3% in September, with spending slowing slightly before the budget announcements last week. The focus now is obviously very much on Black Friday on November the 29th. Not this date seems to bother a number of retailers because when I was looking at yesterday, I think the number of retailers have gone early with campaigns. But also, once again, the major retailers are back on television and digital with fresh campaigns, which get more bizarre every year. And we've also seen, obviously, that the support from the government, inverted commas, to support high street retailers against online competition in the form of a reduced business rates for retail, hospitality, and leisure. However, those don't come in until 2026. In the meantime, we have other challenges, as you know, rising costs in the minimum wage, rising costs in taxation, on employment, etc., etc. All of these things are likely to obviously impact on both the retail and hospitality sector. Interestingly enough, people like Asda are now using self-service technologies to improve customer experience and reduce their cost base. I'm sure others will follow suit. But what we're also witnessing is younger consumers, particularly in the 18 to 27-year-old bracket, increasingly preferring to actually shop with independent shops when they're not purchasing online. One would hope that in the foreseeable future we will see some boosting of the high street as it revitalises and changes shape. At the moment, obviously, you're probably, like me, witnessing lots of shops that have closed or are boarded up. But we'll come back to that one later on. So I'd like to say I think the UK retail market is showing resilience. I think we've got a lot of creativity in that sector, a lot of businesses who have weathered a number of storms in the last few years, be it COVID, be it Brexit, and all the kind of activities and actions that have actually meant they've had to basically change their business models. And today I've gathered 4 leaders at the forefront of the development of retail marketing to share their thoughts with you. So I'm really pleased to have the following on today's call. I've got Aaron, who is a Senior Client Marketing Success Manager at RT7. They're a full-service Amazon specialist. So we've got someone from the dark arts with us who can tell us how to actually crack the Amazon code today. He brings both UK and international experience, having worked across diverse markets in Singapore, Southeast Asia, and the UAE. He's now firmly encamped in the UK, and his experience in e-commerce, particularly with Amazon ecosystems, gives him deep insights into consumer online behavior and data-driven marketing strategies that are designed to optimize product listings and boost return on investment. Amazon, for those that have forgotten, represents 16% of total retail sales in the UK. So it's a huge number, and it's continuing to go north. We have Sam with us today, who's the founder and director of Talo. That's Cornish, by the way, for family. Sam started as a photojournalist telling stories. He migrated then into commercial storytelling, working in high regarded ad marketing and PR agencies like Grey, Adam and Eve, and Wildcard. And he's worked with something like 100 brands across both sectors, with the primary focus on obviously growing their business. So welcome, Sam. And then Sean is the director of Mostly Media North. He's a proud independent, award-winning top 20 media independent. Previously, Sean was director of broadcast at Mediacom for 10 years, where he worked on blue-chip clients such as Travalgo, Subway, Velux, and John Adams. Since moving to Mostly Media, he's led a variety of different retail accounts. Welcome, Sean. And then finally, John Golding, who is the CEO and founder of Atomic London. Atomic opened his doors in 2012 with the goal of building one creative company that gives clients access to their expertise under the one roof. It's what we used to call in the old days full service agency, but obviously it's a very different beast today. They focus on brand strategy to advertising, creator-led social media campaigns to performance marketing. And they're now one of the fastest growing creative outfits in London, in fact, nationally. They work with a variety of different brands in the retail space, including Homebase, M&M Direct, Back Market, Greater Anglia, Hamptons, and so on. So it's great. We've got both a modern full service creative agency. We've got someone who's got expertise from the world of Amazon. We've got a digital marketing expert, and we have a media planning and buying agency expert. So we've got, I think, most corners covered. So thanks for joining us, as I say. We'll get cracking now. Obviously, it's been a very interesting morning already with the re-election happened moments ago. It was confirmed to President Trump, like it or not, or otherwise. That may have a positive impact. Only time will tell on Europe and the British economy. All I can say is that the markets have reacted positively this morning and are up by about 1.5%. And if you think about the economy, obviously that's been the key component in the reduction in consumer spend over the last few years. So I've got a few sort of scene setter questions, if I may. I thought we'll move around the table and then we'll get into kind of the nitty gritty world of marketing and sort of strategies that you might be considering as brand owners. I'm going to start with John, if I may. Obviously, you're on a sort of big run up towards Christmas now. A number of the retailers you're working with, you've got campaigns out there or about to launch. What's their view? What are they forecasting for Christmas?
Well, I've kind of mixed feelings, actually. I think the traditional retailers are, not massively optimistic, but it's a difficult time. However, obviously we work with someone like Back Market, who, I mean, the numbers around refurbed products generally and that market, I think the forecast is about 21 times the growth versus traditional retail. So interestingly, if you're in the refurbished part of the market, things are looking very, very optimistic. I think if you're in the more traditional end, it feels like it's going to be a tough Christmas. But I do think there's optimism. Just getting to the budget, getting to the end of the US election, there is some optimism that things might just pick up a little bit going in. But I'd say mixed feelings.
Okay, well, I mean, they certainly do need to pick up, don't they? So, Aaron, obviously, is Amazon saying the same thing, or is it all jolly fine at Amazon?
Amazon's always looking quite jolly around the festive season. So Amazon as a channel really believe is expecting quite a busy holiday period, with sales likely to be bolstered by an early start to the holiday shopping, again, due to concerns around the economic uncertainty and potential supply chain issues. Amazon are really actually predicting quite a strong demand for convenience-orientated and value-based products. Amazon sellers really, from our opinion, should be focused on promotions on this early stages of and ease of delivery around this time. So from an Amazon perspective, using your Prime as a key differentiator and to capture that early holiday demand effectively.
And all your clients, are they all developing Black Friday deals? Are they, I mean, without exception, or are there a few still not getting into that market?
It depends on the product type. Some are specific around maybe a B2B focus, but they are on Amazon just as a convenience for their customers. But definitely those that have a seasonality and holiday base, we highly recommend running promotions at all stages on a lead-in, peak, and during and post period. There's just so much traffic on Amazon during this time, both before, during, and after, that it's highly recommended to take part in it.
And presumably cost obviously goes up during this period because demand is obviously there.
Cost per clicks are usually set to double around this time of period, and Amazon at this stage is probably one of the highest cost per clicks out of any channel at this stage. But the opportunity and the returns are well worth the pay, to be honest, when highly optimized.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that later on. We'll talk about sort of new brands and getting into that space. Sean, obviously coming more from, I guess, a traditional background, if we think about e-commerce and how that's evolved since the pandemic and how that's impacted on consumer behavior, in general, do you think retailers are still struggling to adapt to this change, compete with the online giants?
I think after the pandemic, they realised they had to move a bit quicker, Stephen, to get into that sort of omnichannel strategy of tangible and not so tangible. So the online shopping versus going into an actual shop. And I think people's sort of, the working from home thing, all that kind of stuff, which is kind of shifting back to normal, certainly up here anyway, is sort of, the where they've moved to. So I think the brands that moved to a sort of omnichannel option have succeeded. Obviously, you've seen some big retailers fall by the wayside, people like Debenhams and things like that, which obviously affected sort of inner city shopping malls and things like that. But yeah, I think that's kind of pretty much over now. I think every sort of retail brand has an online presence and are getting to use it much more effectively in the last 12 to 18 months, I would say. Yeah.
I mean, certainly, I think what we are also seeing is a shift in the demands of consumers, particularly younger consumers, and them in particular being concerned about both sustainability and ethical practices amongst consumers. At the same time, obviously, we're seeing the rise of other platforms coming into marketplace, particularly from China and elsewhere. Transparency and how retailers actually adopt and adapt to these sorts of demands of consumers. These are changing. But I just wonder, John, if I come to you, I mean, are these discussions that you're having with your clients? I mean, is it a regular part of what you discuss when you're developing campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, again, it varies really. I think because we've worked with both sort of digital brands that are traditional brands reinventing themselves, and digital first brands that are sort of building their brands for the first time. So it's very different. They're almost coming in from completely opposite ends of the funnel. But I think the bit that all of those brands are focusing on is actually where they can use their physical space more effectively, and then particularly how they can use the social or creator space. And I think that's the bit where, when you look at the growth in sort of community commerce, I guess, where you've got sort of entertainment communities and shopping all going on at once, that part of the market is growing massively. So it's interesting really, because there's definitely sort of traditional brands trying to get better lower funnel brands reach glass ceiling of growth and need to break through. But actually the win area, I think, is probably that mid funnel, and that's really where there's a lot of opportunity. It's quite cheap to get into that space. If you do it really, really well, you can get phenomenal levels of growth, and you can create some brand value and brand equity at the same time. So it's everyone's got same challenge, but coming from a slightly different direction.
Yeah, and when you're developing strategies, omni-channel type strategies, and you're having to engage and work with creators like that, it's similar approach, I guess it would be for you, obviously developing your own campaigns. But does that relationship reside with you as an agency, or does it tend to reside with the client?
Well, it varies. I mean, often clients will have their in-house social teams, but actually, I think in the creator space and the creator economy, I think that is now an area where you need such expertise. Agencies like us provide that expertise, and we provide access to creators as opposed to influencers, which I think is a really important distinction, and celebrity talent as well, who ultimately are creators in their own right as well. So generally, that expertise is starting to then to grow in that space. I think clients are having to reach out to get external expertise, which often will support their internal teams. So I think hybrid generally is the way they approach it. But social now, I think some scary stats. In the last 300 years, the dominant media of the age has only ever changed 3 times. It was obviously print for about 200 and something years. Then it became TV. And in this year, social will become the dominant media of the age. So, taking social really seriously as a brand builder and as a proper performance media is where you will unlock enormous amounts of growth, support and complement all of the hard-working things you're doing through performance channels. And whether you're working with Amazon or running it as an e-commerce platform on your own and supporting your brand building, that is where the growth is, the opportunity, and it's really, really cost effective to get into that space.
Yeah, and it's kind of a build on that, if I may, Sam, I can come to you. If we think about some of the traditional retailers, particularly in the grocery sector, like Sainsbury's, for example, and obviously the pressures that are put upon them by the discounters like Aldi and Lidl. You know, how they, for me, when it comes to their social strategies and their content strategies, they feel behind the curve a little, and they feel that they're kind of struggling a bit in that space, or are being unfair.
I don't think that's unfair at all. I mean, I've worked for a long time in FMCG, working with Wildcard in particular, in a previous role. And one of the things that always stuck out for me was that perpetual fight between Sainsbury's, Asda, Tesco, traditionally larger, outfits, and Lidl and Aldi. Kind of, I get my fresh food from Lidl because it's cheaper, and I get my staples from Tesco, right? That translates into the social world too, because Lidl does fantastically with their little middle aisle. They have all these things that transcend into the online world, and they push that really, really hard, right? Everybody wants to find out that they can get a stand mixer for £22 in the little middle aisle instead of buying a Kenwood one in Sainsbury's for £200. And so they've got lots of stuff that's really attention grabbing. When it comes down to actually translating that to brand experience, I don't think they do nail it yet. And I think that comes down to lots of things that are actually to do with how FMCG is doing some very clever stuff in the e-commerce and physical retail space that's not really being replicated in other places. We work with a partner called Cinerise that has done an implementation for Lidl in Poland, where essentially if they use scan and shop using a little app as they're walking through the store, if they buy tin tomatoes and they buy pasta, it will then upsell them a bundle to buy the parmesan and all those 3 items cheaper. Now, that is something that the grocery segment's really advanced at, because they have so many data points and they have so much information. It's a bit like John was saying, they've got all of the information in terms of own data, and they've got a lot of information about, we've got a huge variety, we can leverage that. But it will be really interesting to see how they translate that into the world of TikTok Shop, right? How do you translate a store with what, if you compared it to fashion or a kind of a pure play e-commerce brand with potentially something like 10,000 SKUs, how do you translate that to TikTok Shop and make it relevant, right? It will essentially come down to core elements of their brand experience, and then how they make that really tailored and tie it into getting them into an own channel. I think online grocery sales, with delivery or something along that, reached 25 billion in the first 12 months after the pre-pandemic. And I think since 2020, the number of homes buying in grocery, I think I read in the grocery, is up by 9%. So there's a lot of people that are buying from home from grocery, but they're not buying it on social. They're still seeing it as like a ritual purchase. So yeah, in answer to your question, there's a lot of work for them to do to engage people on social media, but that will come through figuring out how people buy. I would anticipate that you'll start to see more bundle shops and more decision being made by the seller in terms of Asda or Lidl or anybody, so that you go, okay, I'm targeting a single man with my advertising on TikTok, and he likely will need this standard shop for the week, and he will buy that as a bundle rather than having the choice across product.
Yeah, we've seen that in fresh fruit, haven't we, and in fresh vegetables, etc., kind of through obviously home deliveries and various different models in that space. I want to go back to Aaron. It's all very well, Omnicom strategies, or Omnicom, or Omnimedia, or Omnichannel strategies. But reality is, smaller brands, entrants, it's really difficult for them to be able to actually afford to be able to actually run campaigns across all these various different channels. How do you get, newer brands into this space, and actually how do you work with them in terms of their investment and also the mix between the online and offline?
Good question, Stephen. Let me start by saying, in the world of Amazon, and really for any of these brands, having an omnichannel presence is now more crucial than ever for these kind of brands. So it's not just about having a website or anything else, but a combination and a presence that ensures you're driving traffic and awareness for these brands at every opportunity. Really, in regards to these smaller brands new to market, or new to channel more specifically, if you are a smaller brand on Amazon, it's really about optimization and differentiation. So brands should really be focusing on how they can boost their visibility using specific targeted keywords, what's working, where they see the most demand for searches, as well as structured product pages. So on Amazon, the more optimized you are on your pages, your store, in regards to your competitors, shows customers you are a real brand, a reputable one to deal with on Amazon. And that could be the differentiator in regards to how you set yourself apart. Again, you've touched on utilizing Amazon advertising options. Having the right strategy can really help a new brand get in front of more customers. And that really means emphasizing should be on both relevancy and differentiation. So highlighting, again, your unique selling points and using strong visuals are really key here to attracting your customers and getting them to engage with you.
Okay, so let's make an assumption that you've nailed your proposition, you've got a good product, you've got some good creative. Then it's about, as you say, making sure that people can find you through the techniques that you use. Is there kind of like a minimum spend for a new brand that's going to be using and working with Amazon?
I wouldn't say there's a minimum spend. I mean, your budgets are what they are, really, I would say. So Amazon, that's a good question.
I have to answer at the moment. I can come back to you.
I'll have to think about that one.
It was a tough one. Okay. Sam, back to you for a second. So I think also the other thing I think we are feeling, and what has changed, is that people's perceptions of digital marketing was all about performance marketing. It was all about that kind of bottom funnel. How do we drive more clicks? How do we drive more performance? How do we get people to buy our products? And there's been a shift, I think, in digital marketing as a whole, where brands are still using digital marketing for that direct response, but equally too, they're now recognizing the value it has in terms of brand. Tell me a little bit about that and how you go about advising clients as to what they should be doing in the digital space and the sorts of channels they should be employing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a definite shift, which I'm very grateful for, right? I came from traditional advertising, so that there was quite a gnarly period, I would say, between 2015 and 2018, where, when we were doing PPC or anything, unless it made an immediate response within 7 to 14 days, we were all sitting there going, "Oh, this isn't actually delivering any value." I think ultimately you can't separate performance marketing from digital marketing, but brand and direct response together is really important. So we try and get our clients to look at your marketing investment as a whole at all points, whether you're doing digital or whether you're doing traditional, and look at how it moves the needle as a whole. So, for example, if you're investing trying to capture a new customer email, don't look at the cost in 30 days of how much it costs you to get X number of emails. Look at what that impacts in terms of long-term value and conversion rate over 2 years. Always take the longer-term view on what you're investing in, so that you go, okay, I might have spent £70,000 a year on my marketing plan, but ultimately it's delivered this potential value of new customer base. And if I can then continue to leverage that, then I know that I'm continuing to invest in my customer's experience. And I think as long as you're investing in strategies that focus on building a better experience for your customer and putting them first, you always end up delivering more revenue from those investments on digital and performance marketing. Ultimately, you can't now separate brand from direct response channels and strategies. They are all together. And that means that there are a lot of softwares that, we often have clients that come in and they go, "We've got this fantastic software, we pay X amount for it. It can tell us exactly what acquisition is happening here within 12 hours. And is this are we operating at a great efficiency rating?" But the one thing you can't do is step away. We all have to kind of step away from being financial directors and take a wider view of how do we build an experience that stands out. A bit like Aaron just said for Amazon. It's the same if someone has the option to buy a similar product from 20 other stores, which is mostly the case most of the time. We need to make sure that we're investing in a way that engages that person to come back just as much as we are to get them to convert.
Okay, well, there's one for John as a build on that. I mean, ultimately, it comes back to trust, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, I think there's no question that brands that are retailers command a much greater share price value. I mean, it's that sort of unquestionable, really. So the value of building your brand, whether you're using digital or traditional channels to do that, or social channels, you've got to kind of be on the right path or the right sort of journey with your shareholders, because ultimately, if you're just about sales, really, and it's about being a very, very efficient retailer, then building brand at this point in your journey is less relevant, I guess. I think it was 82,000 new e-commerce brands, or businesses rather, started last year alone. Most of those will never become brands. They might be very successful retailers, but start to build brand value, or start to build pricing power that has a value in the boardroom for retailers that want to become brands, you have to embrace investing in reasons why people should want to buy from you, rather than just your ability to sell to them. And I think, but for many, and probably the vast majority of retailers online, they don't ever need to become a brand. That's not part of their journey. they need to get their sales and revenue up, and they will then transact or keep going like that for a while. However, it will be, as we often see, you hit a point where you can't grow any further. You hit a kind of glass ceiling of growth, or you can't find access to new audiences or potentially higher value customers unless you start to make that investment in brand. So the truth is, it's not an insignificant step. It doesn't have to cost you the huge amounts of money it used to cost when you had to sort of invest in traditional media for the first time. But you have to be really clear as to why you need to do it at all. And for many retailers, it's not necessary, but for many, it is the only way in which they'll become really a proper valuable business and brand, as opposed to just a very good sales machine, I guess. So I guess it's horses for courses. For many, it's absolutely right. For others, it's not right.
Again, as a kind of a building that by May, Sean, I mean, how do you recommend to brands how they allocate their budgets, particularly across traditional channels like linear TV, YouTube, social media, etc.? How you prepare them, in the run up to Christmas, and what's on the consideration list?
It's pure and simply eyeballs, is what you're trying to achieve at this stage, and getting it onto that Christmas list is the most important thing. We found that our kids brands, for example, are going later in the market now. Used to advertise around when the Argos catalogue came out, just to get your sort of brand structure for the year into that. But that's, that would usually be around August time. Over the last couple of years, certainly since COVID, and all the sort of supply issues that everyone faced post that, we're finding that that's moved more into October. So we're 2 months behind. Obviously, Halloween is becoming a much bigger player in that market. So what you're trying to do is just build it up in a shorter period of time, that brand awareness to Christmas list to sale, basically. And that is the sort of process of it, as many eyeballs as possible. And the hope
it's a shift in spends from what you're saying. It's basically been brought forward. So by, the first 10 days of December, it's all over.
Yeah, so you're October to say this year it will be around about the 18th of December, Stephen, because you go to your last pay or whatever as well. But yeah, it's definitely moved later. The demise of kids viewing on linear TV, as I call it, so your Nickelodeons, your Boomerangs, etc. That's also affected the market in a way where you've had to move into more digital strands, whether that's through connected TVs or YouTube or whatever. But yeah, it's a fine line. We're doing a lot of test and refine with our media buying. Test, refine, learn through the year, and then you hope you've got your strategy right for Christmas. And 9 times out of 10 you have. There will be some that don't kind of build as you hope, but yeah, it's a ever shifting sands, shall we say? So it's you just got to keep
on top. Danny Crow, a former retailer himself. He's got a question, Danny.
Yeah, I put a question in the chat. My experience to say, as Stephen says, as a retailer, is boardrooms particularly were obsessed with traffic, whether that's footfall, website visits, whatever that is. Are you still finding that's the case with your retail clients, or has there been a shift to conversion? Is optimizing conversion is important?
Jake, anyone on that one?
Yeah, I'll jump in if that's right. I think my immediate response is that there's still a large focus on it, but I have a lot more focus from my clients on profitability activity. So particularly in events like this in this quarter, I literally came out of a meeting this morning with one of our clients where we were discussing, should we still be aiming for the volume target that we're talking about with units, or should we start adjusting our approach to profitability measures because we're not sure we're going to hit the initial target we wanted. So I think there is more focus on conversion and profitability, but it almost is secondary, in my opinion.
Okay. Anyone else on that question?
Go on, Aaron.
I was going to say, sorry, thanks, John. From an Amazon perspective, I will agree that we're focusing on revenue targets first and foremost, and conversion almost comes to be a factor we look at after an event or a period. We look at potentially the volume versus the conversion, and we try and figure out thereafter what went wrong with certain listings. For Amazon, it can be as simple as potentially a keyword or something that wasn't published on a listing that could affect the overall conversion. But yeah, it generally comes secondary to the revenue goals first and foremost.
Thank you. Can I come back to Black Friday? I mean, it's become obviously, like most things in life, it started out in America and has shifted over to here and elsewhere in Europe. And it gets earlier and earlier, and we now have Black Friday weeks, months, sometimes feels like a year. But the reality is that not just a case of actually driving volume, but actually decreasing value and literally just shifting sales and bringing them forward, as you were suggesting a second ago, Sean? Sam,
Sorry, I'll jump. Yeah, Black Friday is becoming much more prevalent, and certainly has been the last few years. The fact that it shifts about as well can be a little bit sort of, the Amazon Prime days last month were great. They then follow that up with Black Friday advertising. It feels like everyone needs to be in there now. We've seen various successes with it. We've seen a couple of failures with it as well. But yeah, you have to be in that market as far as we're concerned if you are if you're looking to jump on the coattails of it, certainly. Yeah.
Anyone else on that one? Or we'll move on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think Black Friday can often be this thing that's seen as value or volume, but we think if you play it right, it can be both. You could end up massively raising turnover with little to no profitability gain if you don't play this period right. And we tend to say to our clients, if you're seeing this as a cash grab opportunity all the time to just clear a load of stock, then you're missing the point of what this is. The main positive thing of Black Friday is that all the customers in the same mindset to buy before they reach your store as a guarantee, pretty much for this whole month, whether it's Cyber Monday through to after Prime Day, like Sean said. So we have a unique moment that used to be just Christmas, and now it happens in November as well. And so, they're already shopping, your customers, and they're already actively looking for deals and opportunities with your brand or the product that you sell that multiple brands offer, and they don't want to miss out. So that mindset, in our opinion, as an agency, is the key to unlocking that brand growth. We try and leverage that with our clients with campaigns that start well into September, October time around building email lists, retargeting data sets, so that we deliver a lot of value for the brand to leverage over the next 6 to 9 months, rather than just seeing this as like a sale period. If you can deliver and capture every shopper as highly interested in your brand based on the fact that they want that kind of product, but they're not necessarily going to buy it right now because on price, you can then leverage that at another time in a more like off-peak period. And with that view, then, we tend to see our clients see a huge jump in own data just as much as that volume in sales or revenue, and then that kind of plays together over the next year, and you can start to leverage that in a way that you learn more from this period as well. You don't necessarily have to do the best sales you've ever done in Black Friday, but as long as you can leverage the opportunity of the people coming to the store, I think it can be a great period for everybody.
So what you're essentially saying there is it needn't actually, screw with your value versus volume. Actually, you do collect valuable first-party data that you can actually amortize across the 12 months. And perhaps also it doesn't have to have deep dive discounts. You can add value as opposed to actually just giving stuff away.
Yeah, 100%. And we work with a software partner called Nibble that I don't know if anybody else is familiar with them, but they operate as a negotiation platform. There are a few others out there, but in the world of AI and personalized shopping experiences, you can turn Black Friday away from being a big red and black sale sign event and into an opportunity to talk to your customers and communicate brands. So with Nibble, for example, you can get that software to only offer up to a 4% discount if you want it to. But every time you have the opportunity to talk to a customer in a pop-up about why your brand is of value, and that's the reason why you don't discount further, you have an opportunity to do more. One of our clients, Left Field Kombucha, last year had their best Black Friday period ever, and it's because we did a campaign 6 weeks before, and they're all about health and wellness. So we basically did a campaign that said, turn your phone off for Black Friday and buy case of kombucha and just sit and look at a great view for the next 4 weeks and let your phone not ring, right? And it worked really well because it tied into their brand rather than and we didn't even do a single discount on that, right? It was just about getting people to connect with the brand and what their mission was. So I think because if you approach it from the mindset of why people are there and they're ready to buy, you're not having to convince people to buy. They're already convinced that they want to buy something, whether they're buying into you or whether they're buying a product doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you can consider the whole FOMO thing basically would impact on people's mental health and well-being, and kind of the need to feel that actually they are active in that space, and there's certainly pressure put on people to buy stuff, to do stuff at that point of year. Go back to Amazon if we can for a second, because obviously you were saying that prices doubled during this period and that it's still good value for money, but there's a lot of other channels now, that are doing Amazon, but perhaps doing it better or cheaper, particularly Chinese Temu and others. What's Amazon's response to these other channels? TikTok Shop is another one. How are they changing the way in which they engage, and what's their strategy in this space, if I may ask, Aaron?
Yeah, you're definitely right there, Stephen. So Amazon is feeling the pressures from platforms, as you say, like Temu, which are attracting really price-sensitive shoppers with extremely low-priced products. To counteract this, Amazon has been re-engaging with budget-friendly shoppers, again, with unbranded products, kind of taking a step back away from what has been their drive to bring brands and product owners to Amazon. And this is to capture that similar demographic without compromising its prime delivery promise to shoppers. And they're also working to keep marketplace diverse by supporting smaller sellers through real specialized programs. We've mentioned Temu. TikTok Shop is definitely another one, giving Amazon a challenge, especially with younger audiences who want to be more interactive with their shopping experience. So for brands, these platforms offer really an alternative to reach niche markets or younger customers. And TikTok integration actually of social and shopping offers brands a way to be both relevant and easily accessible for their audiences. Amazon's trying to challenge this again by introducing their own kind of social element to it. You've got things like Amazon Posts in the US, which again has yet to be introduced to the UK. This allows shoppers to follow the actual Amazon brand's store, and similar to a brand's social media channels, they can just take those posts talking about a new promotion or a new product launch and post this on Amazon, and any follower can instantly receive this. That's generally the way Amazon's trying to combat these two competitors at this stage.
Thank you, John. Formats are changing too, aren't we? We're seeing obviously with Omnichannel in general, high street retailers are starting to actually think about their environments and changing the way in which they go about marketing and selling their products. We're seeing new formats in terms of either smaller formats. We're seeing obviously other products coming onto the high street which weren't traditionally there. What's your view when you're talking to traditional retailers that you work with who also have an online presence? Are you involved in those conversations as to what they can do with that space to improve their customer experience?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's innovation there really from traditional brands as well as digital first brands. But so there's as you say, there's the physical spaces. So the move from a traditional brand, you've got brands like Homebase who have kind of now shifted to having their kind of hero stores, but then actually moved almost kind of counter to these sorts of corner shop formats now, where there's a Homebase so you can pick up obviously something you've ordered online. It has a very specific, it's quite a small range of shop, but it gives them presence. And I think the interesting about pop-up shops, the move to kind of more prolific but smaller formats means essentially it is in itself a form of advertising. It's the best out of home campaign you can ever have to some degree. So interesting, they're using it as almost like glorified advertising space that also serves a purpose in the customer experience. So I think that's an interesting innovation as well. And the power of pop-ups is great from that point of view. It just gives you kind of a physical presence, as we know, which builds trust, it builds memorability and all of those good things. At the same time, there's the innovation around presence through digital and social channels. So one of the really big trends, which is kind of warming up in the US, but is definitely going to be big and come here, to say it's a bit like QVC, but on steroids, I guess, is what it's like. So basically live streaming, but much cooler than you can't be imagining, which will be but it's warming up in the US. It's going to be really big here as well, where you will be selling direct through social channels through a very, very kind of cool video format. So they are in themselves, virtual stores, I guess, but some real innovation around that space as well. So I think there's innovation in format, and as I said earlier on, I think the brands finding a way for them to kind of build their big kind of community, entertainment and shopping where they all collide is really, whether it's in a physical space or whether it's in a digital space, is where a lot of the growth will come from, and a lot of the tools and a lot of the way in which AI is being now developed is to make those communities in the physical space much more effective as selling tools. So yes, I think there's huge opportunity. I mean, I think that whilst the retail outlook is often seen as quite difficult, there is enormous growth in certain channels, in certain areas. Online shopping is still set to go up by another billion or so, about another billion or so in the coming months. It's just in different places than we would be expecting traditionally. So there is growth. It's just about finding those new channels and where technology is really helping disrupt it or open it up as a channel.
But you're going to touch there on the role of entertainment. We've been talking about retailtainment for the last 20 odd years, and the kind of evolution of retailtainment and what that actually means today, I think, has moved on. John Hegarty a few weeks ago was talking about actually the increasing role of communications is to entertain. If you can entertain, you can engage, you can build brand, you can sell. And I think we forget that. I think some of those views, which go back a long time, we've kind of lost sight of it and thought it's all about data.
Definitely, and I think there are some stats around. I think about 60%, albeit of younger audiences, prefer to shop whilst being entertained, whether it's through their social feed. So, and increasing numbers of people who will click and buy at the same time. So that is definitely, being entertained while shopping is absolutely at the core. TikTok, of course, is the perfect platform because it is pure entertainment. What's interesting, if you look at even TikTok with their product, I think it's their product identification feature that's coming. It's in its infancy at the moment, but you'll be able to, AI will recognize the products that are in the TikTok feeds and then offer you, places where you can buy that product. So even the kind of pure entertainment space will be able to be fed with opportunities to buy products which are similar to that or exactly that, just a click away. So I think it is absolutely right. Entertainment is the game, and that's also the way in which you can build brand saliency and brand memorability if you've been entertained, far easier than just being very effectively sold to. So it's a collision of those two things now. And I think, to your point, Stephen, I guess historically you would use entertainment at the brand end in traditional channels and be very, very kind of rational and hard working performance end. You now have this space where all those worlds can collide in the store format, in social, and the whole sort of being entertained to buying can all be done in a matter of seconds.
I mean, just jumping in on this point, this is such a prevalent topic for me personally, because I used to work with a brand called Charlie Bears that sell collectible high-end teddy bears around the world. And we built their own YouTube channel where we did live shows, and it didn't have the connected up ability to shoppable click, but it was essentially their own version of QVC. But they were able to learn huge amounts from how customers were behaving during the entertainment phase of the show to then to guide product development just as much as do sale. And I think, that's something that essentially any brand that's selling D2C can do right now. You can set up a free YouTube channel and you can use an iPhone to do a broadcast. And as long as you've got someone that's passionate about that product, you could probably sell more doing that than doing a 27 email campaign. And we've done that with many clients, because I think often there's this, whenever we're trying to do our own product, I think it's probably fair to say most people that invest in their own business don't want to be on camera about it, but that is going to be something that has to change.
Okay, so entrepreneurs need to become good presenters, is what you're saying?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the other question I've got is really to do with actually, the development of, the demise of linear TV and whether it still has a role. Particularly, obviously, we've seen all these what look to be quite expensive TV commercials, coming back on air as we speak. And Sean, I think, we've just spoken about entertainment. We've spoken about brand presence and the need to have presence. And it's not just on linear TV, because most of these campaigns obviously are running across a lot of digital spaces. But it just kind of feels a bit old school to me now. I mean, am I being unfair?
A little bit. We still see really good success. All that's happened, in my opinion, and I've worked in this game for a lot of years now. All that's happened is people's viewing habits have changed. Their viewing time hasn't. So they're still, what they're doing is they're choosing to watch what they want when they want, rather than waiting for it at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night or whatever. When you would get a drama on ITV or a film on Channel 4 or whatever. So it's just the think box would tell you that viewing is up across all options. So your YouTubes, your connected TVs, your SVOD, your AVOD, all that kind of stuff, and very much an acronym industry, TD, to be honest with you. But the opportunity to see is still a key function in any advertising, I would say. And the magic is how you get it in front of people. So reach and frequency is still a key, or still the most important thing. I was brought up in the three, so you see it. The second time you might recognise it. The third time you might well act on it. So the sort of the use of television, that, I would still say the majority of houses still have that big brick in their living room. And I would also say that the majority of kids also have a viewing opportunity, which isn't probably a TV in the living room, but more often or not a tablet or a mobile phone. So yeah, the key is making sure that we don't. The key to any marketing function or media function, for that matter, is just making sure that you hit as many people as possible, as cost effectively as possible. And I say that as a media man, not as a brand man. Yes, TV viewing's down. However, you would say that broadcaster VOD, YouTube, etc., is up, and it's just marrying across that. The key to it, I think, in the next couple of years, for any brand or for any sort of marketing function, whether that's creative agencies or whatever, is just stop talking about different things. Stop talking about TV. Stop talking about VOD. Stop talking about CTV. Just talk about viewing habits and how you hit people. And I think that's more important than anything in this world. And I don't just say that on TV or VOD or whatever. You've also got to think about video habits on Meta. You've got to think about video habits on TikTok. You've just got to think the whole gamut of opportunities, basically. And I think that's what will drive certainly brand awareness and sales, which is, whether it's brand awareness you're trying to build or sales or both, that kind of seesaw. You just need to remember, the key function of marketing is to generally sell stuff, and we can do that across every medium, I think. Yeah,
I agree with Sean. I think we see that when you talk to what were traditional linear TV media owners, they are now fully digital platforms, and some of the partnerships you can do with them are incredibly good. Not least the cost per second of viewing actually on film, whether it be, as you say, kind of VOD, or whether it be in linear TV, is still probably the cheapest, if not one of the cheapest ways to get to people. But the packages that those different media owners can offer you through funnel, they're not just upper funnel providers, and it gives you an opportunity creatively to create very innovative, almost full funnel campaigns in partnership with what were more traditional media owners. And that's the opportunity. I think, to your point, Stephen, the error comes if you work with a creative agency who's obsessed with making the best linear TV ad they can make. And often that, as we see sadly now, that sort of falls short of the heyday of a decade ago. But there's still huge opportunity, both creatively and I think as packages of media, to do really innovative and hard-working brand building and performance together. So I totally agree with Sean. I think it's sort of completely reinventing itself in a modern and exciting way, and it's worth exploring those partnerships, and those media owners are very, very, very attuned to how you need that campaign to perform for you all the way through the cycle. So it's definitely worth exploring more.
We've spent nearly 50 odd minutes on this call, and not one of us has actually mentioned AI and the impact that's having, both in terms of planning, content development, very much obviously channel selection, and so on and so forth. I don't know, are all of you now using AI in both the development of both content and within media selection and even developing code?
Yes, in short. Yeah, we're using AI, but we're not using it in our full creative end at the moment. We tend to use AI primarily actually across our store experiences and how we connect those experiences together. So we work with a series of partners like Shopbox AI. We work with Nibble, which is based off AI. We work with Cinerize, which is not well known over here, but it is a market leading hybrid retail software in Europe. We use those technologies to connect customers basically and bring together experiences in physical and digital retail. And that essentially allows us to leverage it better than we are in the front end of creative. We're not a primary creative house. We have function for that, but we often work with partners to do that. And I know that some of them are using AI. But I think the crucial thing, the AI is literally like the biggest buzzword of the century, right? I feel like I hear it every other moment. I think ultimately people need to leverage it to be efficient at this point in time. There aren't enough softwares out there using AI that replace complete thinking around marketing strategy, in my opinion. And the way that brands can leverage it is making processes that used to be long to figure out problems or learn more about their customers, in my view. The software we use with Cinerize, for example, can tell us how many times a person has bought in store and which aisles they go to compared to their online shopping experience, and then help us structure an email campaign based on what they buy and when they buy it. Now, that's just something we'd all wish we'd known to give someone the best experience with our brand, right? And I think that's where I will really sing in the next kind of 3 to 5 years, is allowing people to offer the brand experience they've always wanted for every person that lands on the store, whether that's tailored front end experiences, whether that's tailored bundles, on products, whether it's customized subscriptions. It will come into its own in terms of making really tailored experiences, I think.
Thank you. Anyone else want to comment on that, or should we move on? Okay, so one of the things I did promise everyone from today's call was Aaron's going to share with us what I've called the secrets of Amazon, sort of spill the beans on how you can actually improve your presence on Amazon and some top tips. So we'll be sending out probably tomorrow a link to today's event so that you can share it with your colleagues. Equally too, some of those papers and things, if it's okay with you, we'd like to share those with you, and hopefully that will help you in your retail marketing. All I would say is, this is part of an ongoing series of events and activities that we run right across the year. I'd very much like to thank our panelists today and for all of you attending. And it's always great to see as many as you, particularly this time of year, because I know retailers are very, very busy. If you have a burning question, or you'd like to actually ask Pimento and put Pimento to the test with a particular retail challenge you've got, please do drop me a line at Stephen, that's with a ph.knight@pimento.co.uk. In the meantime, for Pimento members and agencies that we work with on this call, and of course brand owners, you're always welcome to attend. We won't promise to put on your name tag where you're from, but we have a series of offline and online events over the next few weeks. Our Business Development Club is meeting again on next Wednesday, 13th of November. We'll be looking at the right commercial terms for better commercial success. Maybe clients shouldn't come to that one, but you're all, as I say. And on the 21st of November, talking about retailtainment, our Club 30, which is for younger members within the Pimento network, our Gen Zs to get together. They are all getting together, no doubt, to do something like sixes or go on some sort of competitive bar crawl or something of that nature, because I can't just go to a pub, obviously. And then on the next 6 p.m. club, which is our physical event for members and clients, if you're very welcome to come, is on the 26th of November in London. That's going to be hosted by one of the members that's been with Pimento for 19 years. And finally, on the 12th of December, we have our online variant of the 6 p.m. club, which is the 5 p.m. club, and that's kind of a speed networking event where you get to meet lots of different agencies from different backgrounds and ask some questions. So that's it from me today. Just like to give you back 4 minutes so you can get yourself a coffee before your next meeting, and thank you for all attending, and particularly to all of our panelists, and wish you all a good retail day. And I think what to say apart from Trump is in the White House. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Stephen.